Hello, I am Stephanie Joy, the attorney at All Things Social Security and Joy Disability Law. Your video is about to start. I just wanted to remind you that if you click the join button below, you can learn more about the memberships offered at a very affordable price that can give you a little more direct attorney answers to your questions. Have a great day and enjoy the video. Hey, y'all. So just wanted to give a little share here about situation today, discussing with someone who's not my client, but probably will be. We've talked about this before, picking the proper onset date to allege on your application. And picking the right one is important, in my opinion, because if you pick one and it should have been one earlier than what you thought, you might not get a stab at the earlier date. Now, the SSA, I believe, is supposed to try to delve and see if there is an earlier one, if you pick the right one, help you pick, but they don't often get it right. For whatever reason, it just might be a new person on the job, or, the person just doesn't ask the right questions. So in this case, by example, so I'm giving this out as an example, a person hasn't worked since December of 2023. We are now in April of 2024. She had worked for several months prior to leaving in December of 2023, but was unsure how long it had been. However, there had been a surgery, a very, very major surgery in February of 2023, which I understood took at least 3 months, probably of FMLA time, which would mean not at work in this instance. So that suggests to me February, March, April, May, went back sometime in May. Now, the reason why it's important is because, and it could be May or it could be June. We don't know. She doesn't know. So she's going to find this out. If when she went back to work between surgery in February and came out of work again, so when she went back to work sometime after the February surgery and then was out of work again permanently in December, she was thinking her onset date would be December, because she wasn't aware of the possibility, but that return to work, if it was less than 6 months, may be argued successfully, to be an unsuccessful work attempt, UWA. We also sometimes say a failed work attempt, but usually when you see it in writing as an acronym, it's UWA. So if it is an unsuccessful work attempt because, let's say she went back in June and she didn't last 6 months until her last day, which was in December. If it was just a hair less even, but if it's a hair over, she's by and large screwed. So if it was 5 months and 29 days or whatever, but it wasn't the 6 months, we could feasibly pull back her onset date to be the next time she was working, which would be before the February surgery. I'm guessing there was work up until probably the surgery occurred. And again, it has to be SGA work. Otherwise, it would still be considered the non-work period for this purpose. Turns out also the person had a surgery back in October of 2022. Well, between them, and went back to work. Between October of 2022 and the next surgery outing of February 2023, I know it was less than 6 months. So if the most recent surgery break was less than 6 months, and we can get that to be a failed work attempt, and the one prior to that is less than 6 months, we might be able to pull that alleged onset date back to when she left in October of 2022. So keep in mind too, October of 2022, if we applied this month, and by the way, we talk about protective filing date, that would be getting a protective filing date for this month. so that we can then get all the data we need to assist in preparing the application and the subsequent reports with her. But remember that whole thing about back benefits never go more than 12 months before the date of application. And there's a 5-month waiting period such that once you're found disabled, the first 5 months are not payable, or the most recent before the payable ones. Either way, there's 5 months. So if she was disabled as of October 2022 and it could end up being proven, that would mean that the first 5 months of unpayment, non-payment, would be 11 of 22, 12, 1, 2, 3 of 2023. The unpaid dates would be November of 2022 to March of 2023. First back benefit date in that ideal dating situation would be April of 2023. And ironically, that's about 12 months ago. So if we clinch the protective filing date now, even if we don't get all the stuff in and the final application in, the final pieces for 4 months, we could still clinch it as an April 2024 application, alleging a October of 2022. Am I saying this right? October of 2022 alleged onset date. And if the evidence reveals, which I think there's a good chance it could, then she will get all those back benefits possible. If she alleged 12 of 2023, like she originally thought, since that's the time she came out permanently, all the other times she thought she'd get better and go back and stuff. 12 of 2023, she would be still in her waiting period. So even if we filed now and all that, her furthest back benefit check would be, well, let's see. If they did take it as 12, the first 5 months would be June of 2024. She wouldn't even have hit the time period when back benefits would start accruing on a 12/2023 onset date. So it's really important to go back. I mean, do it in a timeline if you must. Working here, not working here, because it was sort of like I was kind of scrabbling it down on paper, so I would get the dates. Obviously, if we work together, it's going to be a little bit more cohesive. But that was the big part of what we talked about. Just because it happened to be there, and it's a time to make sure we bring it out. So I think we will probably get a protective filing date. I had to run, so I couldn't do it at that moment, but I will talk to her again, and she's going to find out if that most recent gap of work was at least was no more. I'm sorry, the recent return to work was not more than was under 6 months before the December final leave, and if so, we get to do this whole different onset, and the protective filing date will be important. If it turns out it was more than 6 months, which is there's like a 50-50 possibility, then it would be the December date of 2023, and there's real no need to get a protective filing date because she's not going for SSI, and we're not breathing down the neck of the 17-month period. Okay, so anyway, we have videos on the protective filing if you need to know more about that, and the real big important factor of finding out your alleged onset date that you're going to present. Try to make it a doable one, and try to bring it back as far as possible to a potential doable one, because if you don't, no one else is going to do it for you, and they're just not going to, in my opinion, the chances of them somehow coming up with that date are slim to none. So you would be unknowingly foregoing potentially, how much did we say? It's like 12 months. 12 months, if the person has, a $2,000 SSD amount, that's $24,000. That's just out of sight, out of mind, never even known about. It would be a nice little piece of found money if you get the alleged onset date correct. So give that a thought when you're thinking of yours. All right. If you have already filed and then you realize that you have an incorrect onset date, it can be a mountain to get it to be changed, but I think it's worth trying. in theory, it shouldn't be a mountain. You should be able to notify the SSA, notify the disability determination service, I'd say, whoever's doing the medical workup, and make it clear, this should be my alleged date. It turned, I didn't realize that I had failed work attempts and whatever. I would put that in writing. I would make sure confirm it gets there, and try to get that changed after the fact. If you don't, and you have an award, but on this without the beautiful onset date, just the latter one, you're going to have to appeal. And appealing when you have an award is really troublesome because you are opening up the whole can of worms for something to be completely reversed. They don't just get to look at the onset date and see if they'll change it. So it's better to get it done properly in the beginning. It's not to say you shouldn't appeal it if that error was made, particularly if you have a really strong case anyway and it wasn't horribly iffy. But there is always that slight risk there, regardless. And for some people, it might be a hefty risk. So, alrighty, that's enough about that. Get your alleged onset date straight before you file. Bye, guys.